Welcome into another edition of the Inside Carolina podcast. I'm Taylor Vippolis hosting this, Tommy Ashley co-hosting with me, and what a week it's been for Carolina baseball as the Tar Heels win their super regional and advance to the College World Series in Omaha for the first time since 2018. Joining us on this podcast to talk more about the Diamond Heels, we've got from the 2018 team, Zack Gahagan. Zack, first off, what have the past 2 weekends been like for you as a Carolina baseball alum watching this team?
It's brings goosebumps, man. It's amazing to see the success that Coach Forbes is having. To get back to Omaha is something this team's been trying to do, and they've been short the last couple of years, but they got the guys, I think, to make a good push, and it's just been surreal watching them play, just from the fan perspective now. Because I did have those 4 years where I was there, but being on the other side, it's been awesome.
Coach Forbes this is going to be his 8th appearance with UNC in Omaha, but his first as a head coach. He was one of your assistants in 2018. What do you think it is about Coach Forbes that makes him such a successful coach?
He just cares. He really cares about his players. He's invested in them. He wants to see them succeed. The best analogy that I can really put on Coach Forbes is, and I'm forgetting the dang name of the show. We'll have to come back to that. But he just has a knack to make people feel special, and that ability, especially in the locker room, is contagious. And he just knows how to win. He knows how to make you feel special, and I think that's helped him.
Zach, I've had the opportunity to do interviews with Coach Forbes every week for a couple of years now, covering this team. And today we had media availability there in Carolina's dugout in Bosh a couple hours ago, and we're recording this on the evening. But the players to a player, to a young man, like you just said, they talk about the family environment, the caring. They talk about the love of the team and all. And then I had the opportunity to talk to some of the parents over the last couple weekends in the crowd, and they all said the same thing, at least the ones I talked to. There's always some parents that don't like head coach. It is what it is. But the ones I talked to all said the same thing, is that they can't imagine a better place for their son to A, grow up, B, play baseball, and C, have success. Just sort of talk about that. As I know Mike Fox was your head coach, but just as you were in that process of becoming a high school young man to a young adult at your Carolina career, about how that affected you.
Yeah, I mean, early in my recruiting process, I had the opportunity to meet with Coach Fox, Coach Forbes, and at the time, Coach Jackson. One of the things that I remember from that, interview or just recruiting visit was Coach Fox said, if you do come to North Carolina, I want you to get your degree. And as an athlete, we were so focused on, being in the moment, trying to get better each and every day. Fast forward 4 years later, and I'm getting that degree, and I promised Coach Fox that I was going to get that degree. But there's a lot of lessons that they teach you, whether it's on the field, off the field, that you take for after, the baseball career. And that's the memories that I'll really cherish the most, and just the experiences. And they enforce that, the culture, the family-oriented atmosphere that they put these guys in. And that lasts a long time, after the game of baseball. And, it's one thing to come to a university and just, play your 4 years or 3 years. But to be a part of a family and be a part of something special is a game changer.
Let me ask you about, I asked Luke Stevenson about this earlier today, and I said the grind of college baseball. What's the grind been like? And he sort of came back at me a little bit. He said, I don't call it a grind, and I don't like that word because I like what we do, and I love doing it. But college baseball seasons are long, man. You start in August, just like every other athlete in Chapel Hill, And now here we are in mid-June, and these guys are still playing. As a player, can you sort of talk about that for our people that watch and think you just show up at the ball field and go out there and hit 330, and then you go home? I mean, it's not that simple. What's it like being in it?
Yeah, that's a good point, Tommy. I mean, you're right. It starts in August. I mean, you're doing 6 a.m. lifts probably 3 times a week. So you're getting up at 6, going to class at 8, coming back at around 12:30, 1 o'clock, and practicing until 5 each and every day, scrimmaging on the weekends. Sometimes you get, out a little early, get to go to the football games. But it's each and every day. And, you get a little down period in December. And then, January, February starts back up, and you're playing again till July. With Luke's point, it's not a grind in our eyes. It's a chance to get better each and every day. But it's what we have to put in to, be on that field each and every day. We got to go to tutors. We got to go to class. We got to, eat right. The mental, grind, I guess you could say, is really what makes, these players great, and push through.
When I'm watching this team during the regional and the super regional, one of the things I can't help but notice is the way Coach Forbes kind of constructed this roster. You have a D3 transfer, a transfer from Georgia, a transfer from Quinnipiac. How do you look at this UNC team and kind of see how their talent evaluation process kind of put this team together?
Yeah, I mean, with the way college baseball and just college athletics are today, I mean, you're able to go and find a guy that's, established himself at the college level, and try to get them to come to your school. And then, what Carolina, I think, has really done well, I mean, since probably 2005 when they made those pushes, is it seems like there's at least 3 to 4 freshmen, maybe 5 freshmen that come in, and it's usually the core right in the middle of the field, and then a couple guys on the mound. But then you're able to add these guys off the NIL and transfers and the portal, and you're really able to add more depth to that lineup that has that experience. And when you mesh that together with a couple freshmen and a couple of guys that are experienced, it's just a recipe for success. I mean, these guys that have come in have really, bought into the culture of the team, it seems like. And, it's working. I think it's incredible to be able to find those type of guys and have them have that success, especially if they're not from the ACC already. So it's a testament to Coach Weirs on the hitting side, and Coach Gaines on the pitching side, getting those guys ready and, ready for an ACC and postseason season.
You mentioned mixing that experienced talent with some of the freshmen, and you look at this North Carolina team, Gavin Gallagher at third, getting it done as a true freshman. He's batting .337. You were also somebody who got put in the starting lineup very early, starting 41 games your freshman season. What would you say are some of the challenges that you faced from the jump up from high school to college baseball to kind of put into perspective what Gallagher's doing right now at this level?
Yeah, I mean, guys, I was just looking at the stats there. I mean, this team's hitting .304 as a team in whole, and I think our team was about like 280, 275. But Gallagher's hitting 340, 337, something like that. Like you said, I mean, to be able to do that as a freshman, to be able to just change on a dime and adapt, throughout the season and be consistent, that is pretty tough. Coach Fox put me in the 4-hole. As a freshman, I was behind, Sky Bolt. I mean, I didn't handle it as well. It's a challenge. It's especially when you get into the ACC. It is a grind when you're coming in as a freshman, and trying to adapt and learn and take in all that information. But to be able to do what he's doing is simply incredible, and especially at the level that he's doing it. In the field with his bat. I mean, his home run in the 9th inning, the walk-off. I mean, this kid is special. And I think when he's on, I was talking to a scout that was actually our bullpen catcher at the time, John Stott. He does the Carolinas. But he's saying when Gallagher's on, this team's hard to beat.
similar to that, what's the jump up like on the infield? You played all over the infield in your career. Taylor and I were talking about it before you hopped on. I was sitting on the third base line when LSU was playing Carolina, and Gallagher's down there just catching rockets from Tommy White specifically. What's that like? What's the jump up from high school ball, travel ball, showcase ball, whatever everybody plays, to facing a grown man that is, 9,500 feet away from you, swinging a metal stick? Just sort of describe that moment.
Yeah, I mean, the guys are faster, the guys are stronger. The balls come at you a little quicker. I mean, to be able to stop it like he's doing in the infield, he's just showing the maturity, I think, that he has in him. I think Coach Forbes has mentioned a few times just slow heartbeat, just live in the moment. And as a freshman, to go back to that, I mean, it's just hard to be able to do that so quickly. And the fact that he's able to do that and slow the game down, especially when you're in the infield, you got to be soft on your feet. You got to take your time, but you also got to get that thing over there before, somebody's running a 4-0 down the line. So, especially if Tommy Tanks is up there and your toes and heels are right there at the grass, to be able to do what he's doing is special.
Then on the other side of it, pitching, Jason DeCaro comes into Carolina. He's a 17-year-old. I mean, he's a young man. He's taller than I am. He's like 6'5". He looks grown physically, but he's 17. What's that like, that age jump there, the maturity level jump, to see what you guys and the rest of the former players, to see a guy that young to be able to step up and do that, and wasn't really probably planning on having to do it, at least not on Friday nights. Even back in January before Jake Knapp went down and Folger went down. Just sort of talk about what you've seen from that young man.
I mean, same with Gallagher, just the confidence. I mean, it's cool to see those guys get up there and act like they've been doing it for the last 3 or 4 years. And I don't know if that's something that they're preaching in the locker room and putting that confidence in them, which I imagine. They have access to so many analytics and tools at Carolina, and to go back and see all the cool things that they've been able to do. But then actually put that into play on the field, it's really cool to watch. And I mean, you're right. I mean, that kid has an electric fastball. He's got the confidence. When he's on, he's hard to hit.
I think part of that too might be like, he's 17 years old. He doesn't know what he's getting himself into. He's just going out there and just letting that thing sling. But we've gone this long in the podcast without mentioning the star of this Carolina baseball team. It's Vance Honeycutt. Plus power, plus speed, plus defense. How do you begin to put into words what he does for this Carolina team?
He is absolutely amazing to watch. I think the comp that I had put on him was Trey Turner, with a mix of somebody else. But just to be able to have have every tool in the toolbox and be able to bring it out whenever you want, whether it's rob a home run, go dive in the hole, put one over the fence, then turn around the next day, hit the first pitch out. I mean, the kid is absolutely amazing, and he's fun to watch. I've had the pleasure of watching him pretty closely the last 3 years, and what he's been able to do since his freshman year, cut down on some of the strikeouts going into year 2, and then put it all together this year. It's just absolutely amazing to watch, and I'm going to enjoy watching him as he evolves at the next level.
When I'm watching this team and watching college baseball as a whole this past weekend and the past 2 weekends, whether it's the regional or the super regionals, I'm watching, some nationally seeded teams lose their regionals or their supers, hosting it in front of their home crowd. When you were playing, did you prefer to have those regionals in front of your home crowd, or did that just kind of magnify the pressure that some of these nationally seeded teams are kind of under when in a game like baseball, some momentum goes against you, and then all of a sudden that crowd's they're not too loud, and it's more of that nervous energy?
Yeah, I was watching the Florida Clemson game, and I guess to that point, it's hard to do that. Go into somebody's field, play a 3-game series, and beat them on their own turf, right? You get the home crowd on their feet, trying to get in your head. I think there was a stir up there with one of the guys getting ejected. It's hard to do. Fortunately, and kind of unfortunately, my first 2 years, we didn't make the playoffs. So the last 2 years that I had at Chapel Hill, we were playing at home, number 2 seed nationally and the number 6 seed nationally. It helps. It helps to have the home crowd against or with you. This postseason, I mean, our fans have just been absolutely amazing and supportive and showing up to, support our guys. And that's awesome to see as well. I mean, you got fans sitting in the lawn chairs on the first base side. You got guys and girls sitting up there on the field hockey, stadium. It's absolutely awesome to see that, being a former guy that had played, but, it matters.
Yeah, Boshheimer was wide open both weekends. LSU brought a ton of fans. They were loud. West Virginia didn't bring as many fans. They were loud, but Carolina's fans showed up and showed out there. And tickets were nuts. The prices, you got $15 and $20 face value. They're going for hundreds of dollars. I believe, if my memory serves, and it's still the fact, LSU and Carolina game was the most watched college baseball game on ESPN. 2 of those games were. So just crazy how college baseball has kind of exploded, and Chapel Hill was sort of the epicenter of that. When you look at that super regional, and I believe you guys beat Stetson, and it was like 110 degrees. It was really hot that day, and because it keeps popping up in my memories, and we had our little children there. But what do you remember most about that final out, getting it done, and then sort of, was it a relief? Or was it, we still got to keep the eyes on the prize there?
Yeah, I think the year before in 2017 when we were playing Davidson, that taste just sat there for a whole year. In the first 2 games, the first game we had a situation where we were having a tough time getting that last out. We got that last out, and that taste started to go away a little bit. But that last out against Stetson was it felt like a year, at least an hour out there sitting, trying to get that last one. But once we caught it, it just felt like a release. And it is hard to do. I mean, it's hard to get that last out. It's all that pressure, all that built up for the last year. It's hard to do. And it kind of reminds me of similar to our year in 2018, watching these guys. They like to keep it a little interesting, which is fun to watch.
So you get to go to Omaha. You're a college baseball player. Most baseball players that aren't overly pro watchers sort of know that Omaha is the epicenter of college baseball. The College World Series is a huge deal. What was it like arriving in town, arriving in Omaha, getting out there on Schwab Field, and just having that opportunity for you?
It's everything a little kid's dreamed of. I mean, it was truly amazing to see how many people show up to that town just to watch baseball. Just people surrounding you everywhere you go. We're fortunate enough to have a good support, fan base, in Chapel Hill. But when you get there, there's 50, 60,000 people, cheering for you. And it's a different experience than I've ever had, playing baseball. So showing up there with all those people, it was just an awesome experience, and just, something that I would tell these guys to soak in and enjoy. Enjoy every minute of it, because it is the stage that every college baseball player wants to get to.
Quick break so I can remind everybody about our friends over at Johnny T-Shirt. If you're going to be in Chapel Hill, you could visit them on Franklin Street. And if not, no worries. You could go to johnnytshirt.com to get all the Carolina gear you could possibly want. The hats, the T-shirts, the jerseys, you name it, they've got it. UNC baseball is headed to Omaha. You could shop College World Series tees now. I'm sure Tommy has 5 or 6 of those things in his cart. I know for a fact.
And what are you talking about in cart? It's in the car, man.
It's in the car already.
Great people, and great customer service over at Johnny T-Shirt. And don't forget, Inside Carolina premium subscribers save 10% off their orders. You mentioned the feeling of getting to Omaha, but what do you remember most about playing in Omaha and some of the games that you were a part of there?
Yeah, the first, I guess we led it off there in 2018 against Oregon State. Luca DeLautry was on the mound, and you know, that was a grind. That game was a grind. I think Luca only pitched an out in that game, and we had to go to Criswell, which, I mean, he pitched an unbelievable game against Oregon State there, and then we were able to close it out. But the second game we played against Mississippi State, we had a rainout, and we actually sat at the field for about 4 or 5 hours before, and then had to go back late and then show up early. So that game, rhythm wise, I feel like we didn't have that rhythm going into that second game like we did if that rainout wouldn't happen. But that first game it felt like we had exhausted everything we had. We were given everything we had to just win that first game. And the odds were, in favor. I think if you win the first game, it's about 86%. But that rhythm just kind of got thrown off with Cooper having to come in, which would have been our second starter. So our rotation kind of got off balance. And what I would point out to is you'll probably allude to this, but for these guys to be successful, these pitchers are going to have to bring their A game. It's a big field. It's huge. The gaps feel like, they're like 100 yards long. I mean, this field is different than any field I've ever played at. Definitely big league, type atmosphere, bigger than most college fields. It's just a bigger playing surface, bigger gaps. So these pitchers are going to have to be, on their game.
Me and Tommy, before this, one of my favorite parts about the World Series is looking back retroactively and seeing how much MLB talent. You mentioned Cooper Criswell, who's now on the Red Sox, Michael Busch on the Cubs. The Mississippi State team you lost to, Jordan Westberg from the Orioles, had a huge game. And then that the Oregon State team loaded Nick Madrigal, Trevor Larnach, Adley Rutschman, and pinch hitting off the bench, Stephen Kwan, a guy who's batting like 330 in the MLB, coming off the bench for Oregon State. But with the bigger field at Charles Schwab Field, how can Carolina use some of their strengths to their advantage with that bigger field?
Yeah, I mean, we've already touched on a few of them. Gallagher, Honeycutt. I think Parks has an unbelievably good swing. The power and the speed. I think the speed is going to play a big factor, especially on the hitter side. You got a few guys that had double digits stolen bases. If they can use that speed and that power, it's a big part. And usually the wind flies out on Thursday when you're taking BP. And then Friday, it decides to come the other way, and Saturday. So if they can put some balls out, steal some bags, I think they'll be good on the hitting end. And just on the pitching end, just eliminate, those big hits. Try to eliminate those big innings. And try to keep those at a minimum, because those gaps, they run.
It'll be something to see Honeycutt, D'Onofrio, and Casey Cook in left patrolling that outfield. I mean, we've seen Vance Honeycutt make catches that other guys either haven't made or turn them into, circus catches, like Canarella for Clemson the other night, making that catch. I have a feeling Vance is probably standing there catching it normally, and then. We talked about LSU. If they catch 2 balls in the outfield, one each game that they lost, they probably win the series, and then other teams. But let me back up to the pro thing. I'm going to put you on the spot just a little bit. We mentioned Cooper Criswell and Michael Busch. When you were at Carolina playing with those guys, would those two have been the guys on those rosters that you played with that were playing in the major leagues? Watching them, because usually when you see a pro in most other sports, basketball, they're different, completely different. What about those two that you saw while they were at Carolina that year?
I'd say, Cooper Criswell has an unhittable slider. I mean, you could see it from day one he came in. I only got the chance to only watch him for 1 year, play behind him for 1 year. I didn't get a lot of time to see him evolve. But Michael Busch, I mean, it's from day one when he came in as a freshman. I mean, you could tell that guy was special. He's an unbelievably great kid, fun to be around, workhorse. Both of them are workhorses, and just great human beings. I think, with Cooper getting his shot and Busch, obviously I expected it. I mean, if you get in your groove and you find, your 2 pitches or your 3 pitches and you can find that swing, I mean, if you can keep your mentals good, you can make it. Yeah.
It's fascinating to watch how guys make the pros. You don't, you have, like Taylor mentioned, Rushman at Oregon State. I mean, you knew that guy was going to play pros, and then Stephen Kwan's coming off the bench, and he's probably just as good as Rushman now in the pro. It's crazy how baseball works. Yeah. But if Scott Forbes said, "Come talk to my team and offer them some major advice that would help them in Omaha," what would you say to him?
I would say live in the moment. Live in the moment, and play loose, have fun. This is going to be a memory that you will cherish for the rest of your life. A memory that you'll be able to talk to your friends, your family, your children, your children's children. It's just something that you need to soak in and enjoy every second of it, and then have fun. That's what I would tell those guys, because, it does go by quick. In a blink of an eye, it was over, and, we're on a plane back to Chapel Hill. I'm pulling for these guys, and I think they got the right, group to do it. I definitely had the right coaches, and I'm excited to watch them. I'm actually going to be in Omaha on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, so I'll be pulling from the stands.
If any UNC fans see you in town, say what's up to Zach. He's going to be there.
Say what's up.
And I'm going to tell you straight out, these YouTube videos, they take folks out of the unknown into the "aren't you that guy?" So somebody's going to watch this and then see you out there, and they're going to say they saw you on this show. So Perfect. Be prepared for it.
I'm ready.
Last question before we get you out of here. When you look at teams that have success at the College World Series, what do those teams normally have in common with each other, and how does this Carolina team match up with some of those teams in where their strengths kind of are?
Yeah, I mean, pitching's always, something that you got to have. You got to have pitchers that you got to have a first, second, third guy, and then you got to have the pen, right? I think this team's got, DeCario, Peterson, Pence, Honeycutt, Gallagher, Parks on the offensive side, Cook. If those guys on the offensive side can stay hot and stay consistent, throughout the tournament, especially the pitchers, I think it's going to be fun to watch.
Before we wrap up, a big shout out to our friends at Congruity. Congruity is a North Carolina-based national coverage, local presence company with personal support straight from the Tar Heel State. Congruity is empowering small and mid-sized business owners with HR and payroll outsourcing, enabling you to grow your business while they take care of your greatest assets, your people. And they are doing it with top-of-the-line technology and services for every stage of your business's growth with a state-of-the-art online platform. Congruity, they are obsessed with customer service where they become part of your team. They do the heavy lifting, providing essential admin support with a single point of contact and support available on demand with services that are tailor-made for you, transforming your organization. Congruity has helped hundreds of businesses improve and enhance their day-to-day lives, level up your HR capabilities, save money, unlock game-changing growth. Visit congruityhr.com/Tar Heels to learn all about Congruity. Fill out a quick form to be connected to their consultants, and they'll give Inside Carolina listeners or viewers a payroll and HR assessment for free. That's congruityhr.com/Tar Heels. congruityhr.com/Tar Heels. All right, back to the episode.
Zach, I appreciate you taking time to join us. I'm going to let Taylor close it, but I got to ask you, give me your personal best on-the-field memory, not Stetson, because we've already talked about it, at Carolina, playing for Carolina. It could be, I hit a home run and won whatever game, or it could be whatever. But give us some of that. Folks love that kind of stuff.
I'd say personally, I don't remember if it was Houston or if it was Stetson, to be honest with you. I had a 13-pitch at bat and took that 13 pitch over the wall that last year. That was probably one of my favorite moments at Bosh, and then obviously playing in Omaha and being, the last place that I stepped on the dirt in a college uniform for the University of North Carolina. But one of my favorite moments was, and a lot of people might not remember this, but during the Houston game, Josh Ladowski came in to fill in right field, and he threw a guy at home plate that really, amped us forward to go on and win that regional. Just the kid, didn't get as much opportunities as he wanted, but came in and just, was bought in the whole year and did, what he had to do to get that out. And that's what I think a lot of this team has too. Johnny Castanazzi, came in against LSU, put that one, off the wall. They got a lot of guys on the bench that can, come in and make a difference. But as far as memories go, personally, that was a good one. And then obviously going to Omaha.
My biggest regret is that me and Zach weren't closer when he was on the team. I would have been at the Bosh every day. I would have been taking BP.
Yeah, man.
Maybe try to talk my way into being a pinch runner.
Yeah, man.
We know how you did with the wide receiver thing. I don't know if we want to see you pinch hit.
Pinch running would have been a different game. Nobody ever caught me pinch running. I think I was perfect in my high school career. But Zach, man, appreciate the time as always, and appreciate everybody watching and listening, and hope everybody that goes to Omaha gets there safe and has a great time there.
Say hey to me.
Say hey to Zach.
Taylor. Thanks, Tommy.
Yeah, appreciate it, man.